For the storyline.
For the plot.
All right, here we are. Day 1 of 14 for reviewing. Listen, I'd say a good little rule of thumb is this is if you did it mathematically, it'd be 2 minutes and 15 seconds per multiple choice question. Is a good pace. But I mean, obviously, some are going to be longer and some are going to be shorter. But you know, about 2 minutes per question to get 40 done in 90 minutes, and we'll practice that. Don't worry. And then for the free responses, you want to pace yourself kind of 22 minutes per question. You know, you don't want to spend a half hour on one and then have to spend 8 minutes on another. So this is hard to read, and you'll be able to look at it more closely. But this is we've been doing all these things, okay? But they claim the curriculum is divided up into 5 practices: program design and algorithm development, code logic, code implementation, code testing, and documentation. So I blew those parts up a little bigger. So for program design and algorithm development, determine required code segments to produce a given output. So that we've been doing that, where I'll say, hey, here's a class you're going to write, and it's going to, if you do this to it, it's going to have this output. You know, we've been doing this all along. And so you'll write code. Code logic, that's where you're given something and then you're asked what would come out if I ran this? What would be the output? Code implementation, yeah, writing code. We've been doing it almost every day. Code testing, again, looking at code, and a lot of the multiple choice questions were like that, where it's like, how would we change line 7 so that this would actually work? And then there's five choices, you know, that kind of thing. And then documentation, that's just like those problems that are like, how many times would line 5 in this code run? Or what would be the output if this executed? You know, that sort of thing. So, here's an interesting breakdown. This is the multiple choice questions. They have quite a range on these things, like from 2.5% to 5%. You know, that's double this. You know, it's either 2.5 or twice as much. But you get a rough breakdown. These are all the units, and this is for the multiple choice section. Primitive types, you know, Boolean, double, integer, just, you know, less than 5%. Using objects, you know, like that's when we create and hop frogs or create a student object. And Boolean if statements, there's a big chunk, 15% of the questions. So that's you being able to read through code on the multiple choice and saying, okay, here's what the output would be, or here's what's wrong with this code. Iteration, that's looping, so for loops, enhanced for loops, while loops, that's iteration. Writing classes, so a little bit, like 5-7% on the multiple choice, but that would be like, did it already say? No, I think it says it on the next thing. Most of them are individual questions, but there's 1 or 2 sets of multiple questions that are all dealing with the same thing. So they might give you a class and then give you 3 questions about that class. So you have to keep referring back. 10 to 15% of the test, multiple choice questions will be on arrays. That's one-dimensional arrays. About 5% on array lists. 2-dimensional arrays, 7 to 10%. So that's pretty substantial. Inheritance, you know, class rectangle, extends shape, you know, that kind of thing. And then recursion, 5%. So what's 5% of 40 questions?
2 questions.
Yeah, 2 questions, I guess. Yeah, 2 questions. So you might have 1 or 2 recursion questions. It's not going to kill you. More about this. They had their 5 practices, and only 4 of them are really showing up on the multiple choice, because they're not asking you to actually write code on the multiple choice. You're just choosing answers. So you don't have to memorize these practices. You just have to learn how to do all the things. But yeah, and we have practice multiple choice tests that we're going to do. So questions about that? All right, so then free response, this is also very specific. There's going to be 4 free response questions. Each one is worth 12.5% of your overall grade, because together they all make up 50%. Strong recommendation to pace yourself and not get bogged down on, any one particular one. Also, probably when you jump on one, to get a look at what it is, like, okay, this one has 3 parts, kind of pace yourself, like, okay, there's this first part, there's another part, and another part. Often some of the parts are quick and easy when there are 3 parts, but the 4 questions are going to be on these topics. So methods and control structures. An example of that, even though it was from a very old test, was that trail problem we did. You guys did when I wasn't here. Like, you were writing a method: is the trail segment level? You were writing another method: is it hard, or whatever. There were some methods you had to write about a class that you were handed. So that would be methods and control structures. Having to look at something they gave you and then write code that fits into their model. They're telling you what the requirements are. One question will probably have you write a class, and they'll tell you, hey, this class, blah, 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 here's output, here's what it looks like, here's what we need. And then you just, on a piece of paper, write a class on a piece of paper. That would probably be the longest of any output you did. Then there'll be a question that uses arrays or array lists. They're different, but they'll use one or the other or both in a question. And then finally, there'll be a question that uses 2-dimensional arrays. So what's great is they're telling you the breakdown. So we'll practice each of these areas. I'll make sure I give you a balance of challenges that cross all these areas. And I can't emphasize it enough. I've been saying it. I'll just say it again. The whole idea of pacing yourself when you're doing the test, because if you get stuck on one problem and then just like, I know if I just spend another 10 minutes on this, I'm going to nail it. And then you end up shorting yourself by not getting the other ones done. Remember, if it says return true or false, if it says it's going to be a Boolean method, you could go over there and say return true, and you might get half a point for recognizing that you were supposed to return true or false. We'll look at their grading scales. There's often like, hey, you get a point if you make a for loop that goes through the array without crashing. You're like, okay, I know there's an array. I don't get what I'm supposed to do, but I'm going to make a for loop, and I'm going to do an if statement and check every element on the array or whatever. You can get a point or two even if you don't completely understand the full picture. Again, this will be better for you to look at more closely, but I already talked about the different things. So I had you, yeah.
So you said that they don't divide your time for you in the 90 minutes?
They don't. No, the 90 minutes is just bing, it starts, bing, it's over. Maybe they'll tell you, hey, you got 15 minutes. I don't get to be in the room.
They usually kind of let you know the time.
Yeah.
Right, like when it starts.
Yeah.
And you said,
and I don't even think you can't have all kinds of. You can't have you don't get to have a calculator, for example. There's going to be a clock on the wall. Maybe you can have a watch. I don't know. A smart watch. Yeah, an Apple Watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I'm allowed to buy snacks and then give them to the proctors, and they can hand them to you at the break. And I do that because I care. Protein plus Oreos. I'm just saying. Okay, so in case you were thinking, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is really hard. You did when I was out, I made you practice everything. I would have rather that we just finish unit 10 before break, because that was my plan. But since I was out, I'm like, all right, I can't teach them. I can't finish unit 10, but I can make them practice. I had you write a full class, the test result class. I had you write a swap halves method. I had you do arrays and array lists. And I had you do some 2D array work. And I'm sure some of you watched the video to get them done, but you have already begun reviewing. And so my goal We have whatever 45 minutes left. I think 44 minutes left. My goal is to give you authentic, College Board practice problems more than anything from here to the end. Although today, these are all things that I made. I may have us just do a bunch of a multiple choice practice test on Friday. I'm not sure. I don't know if I want to put that off until next week. We'll see. But for today, I've got 2 REPLs and a worksheet. The worksheet, unlike how I've been normally doing it, I'm not posting the answer to the worksheet. We'll go over it on Friday. So you need to fasten your seatbelt and make an effort on the worksheet, like it's the AP test. On the other hand, I'd be fine if you spent 20 minutes or less, because that's, but to get credit, you're going to have to have written something on that page. Yeah, any questions? I'm going to post these 2 problems. I'm going to pass out the worksheet. So today we're practicing, we've got problems practicing working with arrays and array lists. One-dimensional. So there's 2 REPLs. I am posting help videos for the REPLs because I'm a helpful guy. They're going to post towards the end. And then I'll walk around and pass out the worksheet. Fifth, fourth, third period.